Aloha and welcome everyone back to another Paradigm Shift Circle. Today's topic is how do we transform something negative into something positive? We'll do a quick introduction and some housekeeping just before we get started, and then we'll get right into the discussion. The Paradigm Shift Circles, these are voice-only facilitated conscious conversations that we do through our Discord server. So if you're listening to this in the future on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on Spotify and you want to be able to join in for future circles, please feel free to connect to our Discord. The link for that is in the info for this video, and it's super easy to be able to connect to. And yeah, again, these circles are created as a space for us to be able to practice having metaphysical, spiritual, philosophical discussions as a community. So we'll get things started here as we just take this opportunity to just be able to go over some basic housekeeping, and then I'll start things off with exploring this question. And anybody else who would like to be able to jump in, please feel free to raise your hand as we go. So thank you everyone for joining today's Paradigm Shift Circle. Before we get started, here are a few guidelines and reminders. Paradigm Shift Circles are an intentional sacred digital space created to host inspirational conscious conversations to nurture our spirit and build community. Circles are sometimes recorded. This one is today. At the end of the circle, a screenshot will be taken to show the names of those in attendance, but you're welcome to opt out of that if you wish. We will let you know beforehand when the screenshot will be taken. Please respect the instructions of the facilitators of the circle. Please respect the intention of the space. Please respect your fellow members. You're welcome to simply listen in or to speak in the circle. To step on stage and speak in the circle, please use the hand raise button and wait to be brought on stage by a facilitator. Once on stage, please wait for the facilitator's prompt to speak. If you are already on stage and wish to speak next, please blink your microphone by clicking the mute and unmute button a few times and wait for the facilitator's prompt. Circles generally go up to the hour. We will conclude with gratitude at 5 minutes to the hour. Please tell your friends and invite others who may be interested if you have not already. Please feel free to check out the Patreon, where you can join as a member in the community to help support these circles and to be able to receive access to additional events. Thank you so much for joining, contributing, and enjoy. So with that said, we'll get things started here. For those of you in the Discord right now, if you guys don't mind, feel free to jump over to the YouTube and just drop some 1111s in the chat there, just to be able to confirm that you guys can hear me okay. And for those of you already in the YouTube, yeah, feel free to just leave your feedback there, and we'll reply to the comments there as well to the best of our ability. So right now we're starting things off, and we'll bring up some more people on stage as we go. Who's that chick? I can see you raising your hand, and that's the username to confirm. So we'll bring you on in a moment, and I'll get things rolling first, and then we'll pass it over to you. So let's start things off by exploring this topic once and forever here today. What did I just say? Oh man, sorry, this cat is distracting me. Ever try doing a podcast while your cat's walking across a laptop? Well, that's my reality at the moment, so. Okay, all right, so as we dive into this again, when we do this is practice, just inviting each of us to be able to practice exploring this question. I like many of us, I don't come into this question having like an essay planned out. I'm taking this opportunity to really just sit with this question now as I invite each and every single one of you to do. So we'll do that, and then we'll pass it over to who's that, and then we'll pass it over to whoever else would like to be able to join. And again, for those of you on TikTok or Instagram, please feel free to click the link in my profile to be able to join the Discord and add your voice. So how do we transform something negative into something positive? Now, I think this is, again, one of those questions where obviously we have questions within questions. What is negative? What is positive? And I think the immediate direction that I sort of see this is the idea that, oh, well, this comes down to a matter of perception. So in order to be able to transform something negative to positive, really, essentially what we are doing is we are transforming our relationship to the story that we are telling ourselves. So in many cases, you know, something that is negative can absolutely still have, you know, a lot of like heavy emotions and challenging circumstances. But this is a question within the question: can there still be something positive within something negative? Is the seed of something positive within something negative? Is the whole purpose of experiencing something negative to be able to eventually birth something positive? So, you know, it's kind of one of these things where it's basically like sometimes like we experience loss, for an example, as something negative, thus in turn to be able to experience gratitude in a deeper way. We experience the lows in order to be able to appreciate the highs. And in turn we experience gratitude in order to be able to experience eventually humility as well. So, you know, if we were just in the experience of something positive, would it continue to be positive forever? Would we in some ways perhaps lose touch with our gratitude? And so, you know, I think in itself, the whole process of this reality is kind of structured around the concept that it is the wave, it is the ocean, and what we recognize as negative is only one side of the wave, and thus in turn it kind of moves back and forth, back and forth. So as we mature as individuals and spiritual beings, and I'll just speak here for a second, then we'll bring on who's that we what we can learn to do is to actually learn to how to be able to get better at riding the waves. So back in the day, something negative might happen, and it might be something that would like affect our entire week, and we're just carrying it with us and we can't shake it, and it's just like a cloud over top of us. And if that's the case, that's okay. That's like, that can happen to any of us sometimes. But as we get better as we become more consciously aware, we can actually get more effective at finding mechanisms and practices, so that when something negative happens, we have ways to be able to move that energy. And so I think, again, transforming something from negativity to positivity is, again, being able to kind of like move the current, to move the energy. What is something negative? What is something positive? It's really something that we perceive through our emotions. And what are emotions? It is, like emotions. It is like electrical energy in motion. So how do we move the energy of something that we are identifying as negative to be able to either transform that into something positive, or to be able to release that energy, to be able to make room for fresher energy to be able to come in? And I'll just say this, and I'll pass it over to our other speaker, who's that chick, which again is their username to confirm. And there's kind of like this very powerful idea that really resonated with me, where some people talk about being able to create like a psychic shield, where say like like, oh, like block bad vibes, like block bad vibes, I've got crystals in my pocket, get your bad vibes out of here, cha cha cha, pa pa pa. Like that's what I imagine us doing sometime. And in that circumstance, I think that's one way to go about it. But another way that I've heard of thinking about it is like, imagine this field not necessarily as a shield, but more as a transmutation device. So it's almost like a technology. When somebody sends you quote unquote negative energy, it moves through this field that surrounds our body, whether metaphorically, literally, metaphysically. And as it moves through the body, it actually transforms this energy into neutral energy. And then once it turns into neutral energy, we have the opportunity to be able to decide, what do we do with that energy? How do we choose to transform it? How do we choose it to be able to do something how can we use it as something that can nurture us? So, energy in itself, is energy negative? Is energy positive? Or is energy just energy? Is energy neutral? And then it's more so how we perceive it, how we relate to it, how we associate the story to it. Because again, like one of the things, and I'll talk more about this later, is to look at nature as an example. Look at something such as a forest fire. That's in many ways something that we can be seen as something quite negative, yet in itself it is something that is an essential part of the ecosystem. It is something that actually births new life. It sheds away like the kind of like debris, and it creates the fertile soil. It brings nutrients into the soil to be able to bring new life into it. It's kind of the same thing that like out of cow dung things grow, like mushrooms grow, like sometimes flowers grow, like out of the crap, out of the darkness, the seed grows, right? So I know there's a lot more to be able to talk about this, and I hope just me saying some things sparks some ideas for you guys, because I think all of us have something to be able to share on this, because hey, we're all human, and we've all gone through experiences of what it means to be a human, and transforming negative to positivity, and passing on that wisdom is, I think, a big part of why we're here, so we don't get in those, so we can learn to be able to rise through the waves. So who's that chick? I'm going to bring you onto the stage, and then we'll just do a quick microphone check, and then if you're ready, we can pass it over to you. So we'll bring you up on stage, and go ahead and just say hello, just to confirm that your microphone is working okay.
Yeah, I'm here.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining. And when you're ready, please feel free to share on how do we transform something negative into something positive. When you're ready, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, my name is Kelsey. I was speaking with you yesterday, and I've been with you for 2 weeks, and I just thought this name was cool. So let's see. I am very much on the same page as you with perception and just changing the relationship to your story, but it's very difficult to learn how to do that as our culture doesn't teach us to do that. As well, my culture. and America has not taught me how to do that. Um, and so I am grateful for being the generation that is relearning some of these techniques. Um, and so, let's see. Yeah, I agree. Everything is neutral. One of the stories my husband told me about the cicadas that have been out is that there's this fungus that comes out every 17 years to match when the cicadas come out, and they come out to for the cicadas to eat, and the fungus eats their butts, and then they die. And I was just like, that's so horrible, but it's so funny, and it's actually not horrible. It just is what it is, and um, so yeah, I had written down just to allow these emotions, the energy that is coming, that has combined with ours from an outside source, that energy to move through us, whether it's through stillness or pure movement. So, like stillness within meditation, just sitting there and feeling your body, to explore your consciousness, to connect with the gods and goddesses within our consciousness, um, and astral travel. And that's something I'm starting to learn about. And then with movement, there's breath work, exercise, eye movement. There's a trauma based mental health treatment called EMDR. I can't quite remember what that stands for, but it's literally reprogramming your brain to help it release the trauma. And you don't necessarily have to be thinking about the trauma. It's just like specific eye movements that you're guided through, just reprograms your brain. And then drinking water, eating healthy foods, just really being in touch with what's going on in your body and moving that energy through, um, changes your relationship to what has happened. Um, and I honestly believe that all emotions have love behind it. Um, like when we're angry, we want something to change, and we um, want it to change for the betterment of ourselves or someone else. And sometimes it's selfish and sometimes it's selfless, and both are good. Um, let's see. Like I believe that we choose our path. Our soul chose what body we wanted to be in, what family we had, what experiences we will have throughout our lifetime, and we actually know what is coming without actually being conscious of it. And we're choosing everything that is in our lives. And so it's all a learning experience. And when you see it through the eyes of love, um, it just expands your consciousness even more. Um, and one thing that actually has really helped me is um, taking anxiety and depression medication, which I was absolutely not wanting to do. But it has 100% helped me. And I do plan on coming off of them, but it gave me the chemicals my brain needed to um, gain a different perspective on my life. Um, and I just didn't have the other tools to be able to build up those chemicals in my brain. And when I did have those chemicals running through me, um, more so of what I needed, um, I was led to people that I was matched with energetically, and my higher self matched me with kind of like my soulmates, like my friends that I now have in different communities. Um, so I'm very grateful for my whole path, and I am now teaching people how to, um, change something from a negative into a positive and keep expanding and growing. So, yeah, I think that's all I have for right now.
Wonderful. Kelsey, thank you so much for sharing it. I'm glad you're able to join us today. And yeah, beautiful pieces of wisdom shared there from your experience. And I'll just continue just kind of speaking from my heart on this as we just dive a little bit deeper. And again, for anybody else who's in the audience right now listening on Discord, please feel free to raise your hand if you want to be able to come up on stage and practice sharing. And yeah, like it's so fascinating because I think we see like the patterns of how negativity creates, it actually like creates like the foundation for giving us gifts. It's kind of like this the idea that I've kind of talked about this before, but we see this within nature where things kind of move through a process of chaos and symmetry, chaos and symmetry, chaos and harmony, chaos and harmony. So when we are going through experiences that may be related to illness and disease, it also gives us the opportunity over a period of time to be able to find the positivity of being able to go through the process of the wisdom of healing. And the wisdom of healing is only something that you can literally experience through the process of doing it. You can talk about healing, you can read about healing, you can hear about healing, but do you really know about it unless you've fully gone through it? And as Kelsey was saying, I think so much of the journey that we go through, the journey of our soul, is the journey of being able to go through the experiences of transforming something negative into something positive, so that we can carry with us the wisdom to be able to pass it on, to be able to be a beacon and an example for others, for people to be able to see our story and be like, whoa, like, to hear your story and to hear your story about how you overcame your ailments, how you worked through your dark night of the soul, how you went through your disease and your disconnection and your disempowerment, and yet you came out of it the other side with this empowered perspective. And that's something that, it doesn't need to happen right away. It's something that can take time. And then in the process of doing that, we begin to understand that our story is bigger than our own. Suddenly, when we're in the midst of back in the day, we're in the midst of something, we're like, man, this is really challenging, and undeniably it is. And then flash forward a few years later, or however long, and you've kind of gone through your journey, and maybe you're talking about it on social media, and then you have somebody else come up to you and say like, hey, like, your story means so much to me. Your story actually became a beacon of positivity for me. So the positivity, the transforming something negative into something positive, isn't just something positive for ourselves. It's literally something positive that can be shared. Our transformation of something negative to something positive is something that can be a beacon of hope for someone else to say, hey, if they can do it, I can do it. And again, like, as we move through this, I think the reason why I picked this topic as well as many of the topics is because there's kind of a micro macro perspective on this, where it's like, well, wait a second, what's happening in the collective right now? Is the collective not itself within this entire process of kind of being blanketed by a lot of negativity? So therefore, as light workers and light guardians, we are the alchemists, we are the magicians, the wizards, where it is within our power to be able to step into this destiny where we are kind of tasked with like a responsibility of being able to transform the negativity, quote unquote, of the planet into something positive. And so, we're kind of seeing it right now across a grand scale. And Uni, thanks for joining in, dude. Happy to have you here. If you want to raise your hand, please feel free to click the button to raise your hand and jump right up at any time. And again, anybody else, feel free to do that. And Kelsey, if you want to speak again, please feel free to just blink your microphone at any time. So again, within the journey of negativity, within the stage of experiencing negativity, like, what often happens? Often what happens is there's like the disillusion, the breaking of the illusion, the release of that which no longer serves us, the rising to the surface of that which was unseen. Again, it's kind of like this idea of like, oh, like the apocalypse is a very scary, quote unquote, negative thing, yet in itself is an essential thing. it is necessary in order for us to reach further stages of growth. So, we kind of go through this process within our soul's journey, whether or not we've accepted it or realized it, where we may be in a place of, just kind of like not fully in our power, not fully like where we're meant to be yet. And maybe we're stagnant. And then sometimes what actually happens is that the quote unquote negative that we experience is actually what some can identify as universal karma. And so the karma is actually this universal energy that helps move us back onto the path of our dharma. And so our dharma is kind of like the path of our golden self, our golden elf, the path of our destiny to be able to help awaken to who we're here to be so that we can serve others along the way. And so sometimes, it's kind of like a story where, as an example, I've kind of used this as an example before, but it's just a general example. And this isn't like a real circumstance, but I guess it is. It's probably happened. Say, for example, you have some like big professional football player, and maybe he's like partying every night and he's like hanging out with all that crowd, and they're doing drugs, and it's really just like super masculine, hyper, like all sorts of crazy stuff. And it's not really healthy, but he's super rich and maybe, and then flash forward, and then he ends up like, maybe he ends up breaking his leg. However it happens, maybe it's like a skiing accident, maybe it's a car accident, maybe it happens on the field and he breaks his leg. That was his entire life, like, was the fact that he was a football player, and now he can't. His leg's broken. So what's he going to do, right? Within that process, that's incredibly negative. Oh no, he can't do the thing that he was doing, and now he won't be rich, and now he won't be famous, and now he won't get all the women and have all the parties. And yet in the process of months and months and months of recovery, he has this opportunity to go inside, to introspect, and through the process of this, he starts reading books, and he starts listening to lectures about spirituality and mindfulness and consciousness and willpower and the power of the mind, and suddenly he starts changing his perspective. And then lo and behold, flash forward down the road, and he's developed, like, maybe there's been like a deeper connection that he's formed with his partner. His partner and him are now closer than they have ever been because of the strength that she's shared with him along the way. And then finally he goes through the journey and he can walk again. And now at this point, maybe he's not interested in being a football player anymore. Maybe he's interested in just kind of like following something that's much more aligned to his heart. Maybe he becomes an inspirational speaker and teaches mindfulness and meditation, and shares his story of perseverance and transformation, and he teaches other kids, and he becomes an advocate for like disabled, and just kind of like really brings something into the world that is much bigger than himself and serves others and transforms a lot of people's lives. That in itself is just one example of, again, kind of like this negative into something positive. And so I think what we're looking at is, how do we transform something negative into something positive? Time. And that time can literally be over a period of months, sometimes years, but that time can literally be a single breath. It can be literally just us having the awareness to be able to say, like, how is this making me feel right now? How is it making me feel in my body? What can I do about this situation? Where do I have control? And how can I transform this into an opportunity? In some cases, like, say, for example, if there's something that maybe you've like, you've got something on your mind, and it's not the most pleasant thing, and it's not really something that's serving you, but it's something that's just kind of like weighing on you from your past. It's like, maybe like somebody said something to you and they really pissed you off, and it grind your gears. And instead of just kind of like getting sucked into this, where you're constantly in this loop of thinking about this and be like, oh, why'd that person say that? Or why'd that person do that? What if you were to actually see that circumstance and say, you know what? I'm going to create a little game for myself. I'm going to turn this into something positive by choice. That's what it comes down to, right? Like in many cases, it's a choice to choose to transform something negative into something positive. And you know what? Every time I catch myself thinking about that circumstance or thinking about that person, I'm going to take a deep breath. That's my cue. That's my prompt. That's my trigger for lucid awareness in that moment, to be able to say, oh yes, not only am I seeing that situation as something where it's like, oh, I'm angry, but I'm actually seeing it as a circumstance for me to be able to cultivate awareness in this moment. And instead, what if you were to literally take that moment and to say, you know what? Thank you for helping me. Thank you for helping me. That right there, that is a powerful way to be able to transform something negative into something positive. And you can literally use that mantra and apply it to anything in your life. anything in your life, that old relationship that you broke up out of, that bully that kind of like taught you, that didn't treat you very fairly, but eventually like led you on a path towards more self-resilience and self-discovery, like all like the little things, the good things and the bad things, so to speak. Thank you for helping me. Once we kind of realize that from one perspective or another, literally everything that is on our path is there for our soul's growth, how does that change things? Suddenly you start looking things not just as negative and positive, but you look at things as opportunities. You look at yourself as the student within the classroom. And so, oh, the teacher gave you a homework assignment. Oh, shucks. Is that something negative? Well, that depends. Do you want to pass the class or do you want to fail it? What do you want to do, right? It's a choice. If you want to bitch and complain about it, good luck. You're probably not going to pass the class though. You're probably not going to get a very good grade on it. Or you can rise to the challenge. You can see it as an opportunity for you to be able to step into a higher part of yourself, to be able to transform, to be able to practice cultivating your focus, to be able to come out of it the other side and say, wow, I'm proud of myself and I did this. And I didn't do it by happenstance. I did it as a result of a choice. So I think, again, how do we transform something negative into something positive? Cultivating mindfulness gives us the opportunity to be able to bring about the option of making a choice in any circumstance. So lots more to be able to talk about this, but again, I want to be able to invite some more people into the circle so that you can practice sharing from your heart. How do we transform something negative into something positive? And I appreciate Kelsey again sharing again kind of like the practical aspects of it as well. I'd love to be able to invite more people to be able to share. How do you personally transform something negative into positive? So for anybody who's in the audience wants to share, please feel free to raise your hand. Kelsey, if you would like to speak again at any point, please feel free to just blink your microphone with the mute button. And again, for me, I'll just speak here real quick until we're passing it to the next person. For me, doing something, transforming something negative into something positive, it's a process. But sometimes that process involves exercising. Sometimes it involves going for a walk. Most times it involves moving my body. Like the majority of the time, if I'm going through something negative, moving my body helps immensely because it moves the energy. What we're experiencing as I'm like I'm like shaking my hands right now. I'm like doing like, that thing. I encourage everyone to do one of those if they haven't done that, where you just go, like move that energy. Even before you feel as if it's like something quote unquote negative cultivating within your body, just getting into the habit of moving your energy and creating the circulation for the energy to be able to move in the first place is incredibly helpful and powerful. So, energy often becomes something quote unquote negative when it becomes something that's stagnant. So there's a lot of different practical tips. And again, it's like talking to a friend, getting out in nature, journaling, creating art, having someone to just be able to listen to you, whatever the case may be, looking to someone for inspiration, lots of different modalities. So Kelsey, we'll pass it over to you, and anybody else who would like to be able to practice sharing before we get close to wrapping this up, please feel free to raise your hand, and I would love to be able to bring you on. CeeLo, we'll bring you on up after Kelsey. So Kelsey, when you're ready, we'll pass it back to you, and go right ahead.
Yeah, I agree with you. Everything is an opportunity, and I think we can even create our own opportunities um, by kind of creating some upheaval in our life and just I was posting something the other day about creating crisis um, and just like viewing it in a positive way. Um, and I kind of wanted to go into um, the label of empaths because I think that we are all empaths. We all feel the energy that is all around us and flowing in between us. And it's just a matter of perception. Again, we just needed to be guided to deal with our own energy and the energy that is given to us. And like while I'm doing that, I have several different crystals that I wear throughout the day, and it's just another mechanism to be able to learn and then hopefully um, release that tool. Um, and so what I have been doing is bouncing back and forth from super masculine to super feminine, and I'm learning how to stabilize that energy. And Reiki has helped me do that as I teach others. Like I'll do a Reiki session and I'll tell them what I've learned and like give them some guidance on that energy chakra that I was guided to. And as I teach, I learn. As I learn, I teach. And I think that's going to help me stabilize some of this energy. And as I was growing up, I was overtaught. Like I wasn't able to use my third eye so much, and my dad just wanted to make sure that I had all the knowledge that I needed to move through life um, without using my intuition. But he was undertaught. He did not have his dad in his life, and his mom um, had her own separate issues. And so I'm stabilizing the generational trauma there. So there's a lot going on, and I just really encourage everyone to use the appropriate tools that they feel is necessary to help them.
Thank you again, Kelsey, and we'll keep moving along here. And there's one thing I'll hit upon real quick. And CeeLo, if you want to jump in, just go ahead and raise your hand again if you or anybody else wants to jump in. And CeeLo, I'll bring you on in a second, and I'll say something here that might even be a prompt, and maybe CeeLo will speak on this. And this was coming from a comment in our TikTok on the side channel, where the person was just commenting, Sonia, where they said, "Why transform and not accept negativity, shadow work?" And so again, like that, and that was more or less like what we were saying before, but just to kind of really be able to hit upon that, where it's like, the process of choosing to transform something from negative into positive begins with the process of being able to accept it. I don't think you transform something by force. I think you transform something through being able to accept, being able to kind of like see it for what it is, and see it as a prompt and see it as an opportunity. So again, like I think it's interesting to be able to look at that where, in some cases you can almost kind of like experience something negative and you just be like, oh, like, instead of saying, how can I transform this right away, you're saying that, but you're also saying like, what is the gift here? What am I receiving? How can I use this? How can I use this energy? I'm being given an opportunity. How can I use this? How can I go a little bit deeper? What can I discover about myself through the process? CeeLo, when you are ready, we'll pass it right over to you. And Carly, if you want to go after CeeLo, you're welcome to do so. So CeeLo, welcome to the circle. When you're ready, go right ahead.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Clear.
Cool. This is a beautiful conversation. I know when I was first starting off in my like spiritual awakening, it was a lot of love and light and positivity, and that's definitely like very beautiful things to experience. And it's been about like 10, 11 years now, and I'm starting to be more like accepting of the darkness, like you guys are talking about, rather than having to do something about it or transform it or all that stuff. You were saying, what could be a gift from that. Um, I'll say one thing that I would call maybe like shadow work is some past life that I just started to learn about, and I've had this like love of swimming and the love of like being in the ocean and all that stuff, but I've had this fear of like of drowning or some big monster coming to eat me or something. Like it's weird, but I've always been scared of like the deep darkness of deep water. um, so it's something I've dealt with my whole life, and it's like that's kind of like shadow work. So I've not really paid much attention to it until like I said, I've started to open up more to the shadow, more to what it all is, because in the end, it's all just part of the experience. It's all part of God, of consciousness, of what we're experiencing. I know Alan Watts talks about it like prickles and goo. Like you can't know what prickles are unless if there was goo to show you a difference. So when I like opened up to this kind of stuff, like very recently, to be honest with you, um, this past life started to open up to me, where it was during the sinking of the Titanic, and on the Titanic there was a band, and the band was playing music when they hit the iceberg, and as the boat was starting to sink, the band was like called to go and like get on a boat and escape, because they're like VIP basically. So rather than doing that, they stayed and they played while the Titanic was sinking. So they wanted to calm everybody down, and like, not let everybody just die and like panic. So that's like a very kind of dark past life. And this past life, I was one of the band members playing when it was sinking. And it's like, since I've started to kind of like open up to that, it's really I can like feel it so strong. And I'm like so interested to dive deeper into that, because I found it so powerful that in a moment of darkness, these people were playing music, and it's something that's going to ripple throughout time forever. So that's like a huge, huge gift. And I think that's where I'll stop, because it's starting to feel a little emotional. So thank you, everybody, for listening and talking about this topic. And I appreciate you all so much.
Thank you. Thank you as well, CeeLo. Appreciate you. And thank you for sharing something obviously very personal and close to your heart. And it's fascinating just to be able to hear your experience on that. So beautiful. All right, we'll keep an eye on the time. We'll keep things going. If we need to go a little bit further, that's okay. MJ, I can see you with your hand raised. We'll just check in with Carly, and then we can pass it over to MJ shortly after that. And yeah, I was just gonna say again, like this. It's important, I think, within this discussion where we're really being able to understand that the idea of it's not an immediate association where shadow and darkness is immediately something negative. I think that's kind of been almost some sort of conditioning that's been programmed into us where we think that, and for understandable reason, like, oh, the shadow, that's where the boogeymen are, that's where the monsters are and stuff like that. But I think the shadow in itself is something, again, it in itself is neutral, and it in itself can be something incredibly beautiful. You're in the shadow and the darkness under the moonlight. In the shadow and the darkness is where the seed grows. As I've said, the shadow and the darkness is where the child is born. It is where like the animals sleep in so many ways. So I think, again, when we allow ourselves just to be able to change the way we relate to the quote unquote negativity, to the quote unquote shadow, then that in itself is the opportunity to grow. And just kind of one thing that's interesting is like, it's like, well, too much light can be blinding as well. Too much light can be negative. Too much light can sort of stop you from seeing things that you might not be aware of, so to speak. So it's not the idea that the shadow is negative and the light is positive. It's again, these are very human terms that we're putting on something that's a little bit broader, but it's cool to be able to talk about it. Carly, if you would like to go next, please feel free. I'll pass it over to you, and then MJ, you can go right after Carly. So Carly, when you're ready, go right ahead, and welcome.
Hey guys. I love that. Can you hear my mic okay?
Loud and clear.
Um, you're gonna hear Elin as well. But I love that idea that too much of anything is kind of the negativity. Being too much in our darkness, being too much in our, thinking of ourselves as light beings, or, having that, having that kind of mentality of, we are, because we're on the spiritual path, we're somehow more than or further along than others, or, this is the positivity, when in reality, some of our greatest lessons, actually probably most or all of our greatest lessons, are learned in that moment of darkness, or just, the differences or the difficulties in our lives, kind of teach us the most. So um, there's a lot to say about this, I feel like, and there's a lot of ways to look at it. I like that whole the Zen ideal and the Taoist mentality of, everything just is. We need both in order for either to exist. Yeah. And that I found so much positivity in my own healing journey, in my own, in those moments of darkness when I thought, this is the lowest I'm going to get. I find so much, I look back on those moments now without, without stress and worry, but with appreciation. And I think that's kind of one of the biggest ways that we can alchemize that trauma into something more positive. And I love what you said, Kelsey, about the eye movements and how you can reprogram your brain. I learned that as well, and learned how to do that. And that was such a big motivator for me. It was like, I need to share this with people, like, because there is so many good ways to reprogram our minds and help each other heal. So I know it just feels better to be in a more positive mentality. So I think just feeling better for me is kind of that transformation. So thank you. That's what I've got to say. I'm going to leave it there for now.
Thank you, Carly and team for joining in and sharing your wisdom with us today. And yeah, and again, you know, we won't, we could probably talk about this for an hour longer, but there are a lot of modalities again to be able to help transform negative to positive, and a lot of it again is kind of the association within the mind. You can actually approach this from the neuroscience perspective, where there's neuroplasticity and there's the ability to be able to literally like rewire the way we associate to things in our life that may be causing us anxiety, and being able to kind of like redirect that in different directions. And going back to even just something that Kelsey said, and I'll just say this and I'll pass over to MJ. I agree, where, you know, even being able to understand that those emotions such as anger and rage, like we can actually understand them as like sacred anger and sacred rage, because oftentimes what we identify as anger is actually love in disguise. We feel so passionate about something because there is something that we care about, where there is something out of alignment, something that we want to be able to change. Just kind of reiterating that, but I think that's very powerful. But yeah, you know, I think for everybody here, there's so many situations, and sometimes, you know, even just like changing your environment, changing the people you're around is also another circumstance, because that in itself will kind of, you know, what's that metaphor where it's like, oh, if a flower isn't growing, you don't get mad at the flower, like you change the environment it's in, you put it in some new soil. So sometimes if you feel like, oh, like there's just an overwhelming sense of, you know, negativity around, it's like, well, look at your environment. What are you around right now, and what can you do, and what can you do to be able to create, you know, new aspects within your environment that are going to reinforce steps in positive, quote unquote, positive directions. Positive, so having goal setting, having something to work towards, having celebrating your little steps, taking one step along the way, and being patient with yourself, I think is a big part of it. We'll keep things going for a little bit longer, and then we'll get close to wrapping it up. MJ, thank you so much for joining. Just go ahead and test your microphone and just say hello, and then we'll pass it over to you if you'd like to do that now. And just unmute yourself again, and we'll just test that real quick. So go ahead, MJ.
Okay, can you guys hear
Now we can. Yeah.
me?
Yeah, perfect. All right, MJ, welcome to the
Yeah, you
circle.
can. Okay.
And
This is
when
my
you're ready,
first-
go right ahead. Yep, go right ahead.
Hello, thank you for inviting me. And thank you guys for all of this like awesome information. This is my first time on here. I haven't even personalized my page or anything like that. So let me know if you can't hear me. I have a lot of information that I want to share, but I'll say it very quickly. I do EFT tapping. I found that when I do that and I do yoga, and I do a very quick yoga routine, it's literally like 2.5 minutes long. So anytime that I'm feeling this negativity, I like to especially go out into nature and do that. So EFT tapping gets those energy centers going. It's like the best thing ever. And then I do an analysis of my chakras. I will feel within. I will feel where it hurts, where it doesn't hurt, or where it's tight. And let's say it's my throat chakra. Then I can do a little meditation in that spot, that specific area. Now, I'm a very highly sensitive person, and we did a lot of traveling. So I was exposed, I'm sorry about my allergies, to very high energy places across this country. And that was quite a lesson. It was the beginning of my ascension, and I had to find the beautiful aspects of each of the areas and really allow any negative energies just to, move through me. I find that there's a way to go within and find, why does that specific energy or that vibration or negative feeling what within me is making that hurt me. And I feel like to make our ascension and our evolving as a species on our planet, all of this stuff, these negative feelings are super necessary. That's what helps us ascend faster. It's what helps us grow. It's what helps us go within and find the pain, like the pain bodies. And I began to, over the years, find the lessons. And it's really a beautiful thing. These are blessings in disguise. And I came up with a term when I was writing, and it tells me that these harsh life lessons, they're really blessings in disguise, and I call them blessings. So I have to find a way to be thankful for the lesson and grateful for the healing. And I know I'm blessed to be here. It's such a beautiful thing. Many, many, many times, art is how I express it. When we were traveling, I would write a lot, but now that we're home, I make art and I play guitar. That's like, you find when you're doing stuff like that, your body is, and your mind, your subconscious mind is not focusing on the problem, and it can actually do the work. Your soul and everything can for you. It comes right out in the music or in the art. And I'm a tarot card reader. Tarot card readings or tarot cards for me, every time I look at a card, I learn a lesson from it, or I find a strength within myself. Okay, so that's all I had to say. Thanks again for letting me be part of this. You guys are awesome.
Thank you, MJ, so much. Beautiful additions to the conversation there. And yeah, you know, I think for so many people it's interesting because I wish this is stuff that they educated us on when we were younger, especially related to like somatic therapy. And I'm glad that you mentioned the EFT, and earlier we had Kelsey mentioning the EMDR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. I had to look that up just to confirm. But again, you know, like for anybody who is, again, just kind of like on this journey, just know that being able to develop like a more intimate and in tune relationship with your body is such a powerful thing. Because I think when we, you know, kind of go through this path of oftentimes being confronted with negativity, in a lot of cases, unless we're really instructed to do otherwise, we usually turn to you know, kind of vices. We'll turn to the food, we'll turn to the video games, we'll turn to the, you know, like the dopamine releases and everything like that. And again, no shame if that's the case, but to be able to be aware that it is something that we are doing, again, gives us the opportunity to be able to reflect and be like, hey, you know what, like maybe what else could I do? You know, like, okay, like I'm feeling something within my body. Let's take a moment just to be able to meditate on that. What does my body need right now? Now there may be kind of like the impulse of like, well, what do I want? And the impulse might be to just kind of like grab the first thing closest to you. But instead, if you develop like a new neural pathway, a new habit, and to say like, you know what, okay, I'm gonna take 3 deep breaths, or I'm going to go for a walk, or I'm gonna drink some water, or I'm going to do some journaling. And so again, it's important to know that, especially because we are going to experience negative things within our life. It's just a part of what life is, you know. And so I think what's important to know for each and every single one of us is to find empowerment in knowing that there is always a move we can make. There is always a move that you can make. And so I think once you start to become familiar with that, and so again, you know, find the movements, find the things that really resonate with you. And sometimes that may be, again, you know, like putting on a song that you like and just like dancing for a bit. Maybe it's watching a video on YouTube of someone who speaks on similar topics who really inspires you. Again, maybe it's just kind of like going out there and literally just like smelling the nature, forest bathing, these allowing yourself to co-regulate your vibrational frequency with that of nature. Literally go hug a tree. Go hug a tree and just notice that in itself is an opportunity to just kind of like move the energy. So it's like when the energy gets stagnant, that's where, again, it kind of like results in complications. And so I think as we kind of go through our journey, you know, we can get good at being able to listen to our body at any point, be able to say like, oh, what do I need? And when those emotions and quote unquote negative experiences arise, again, we can become just like much more aware of how to be able to address them in a way where it again just continues to optimize our focus in the directions that we want. But again, I think it's something where we just want to be very gentle with ourselves, and not everyone's going to be at this point where they're like, whoa, like I'm an expert and I know what to do and I know how to deal with negativity all the time. Again, I think it's understanding that we've been kind of like brought through quite a long process of conditioning and habits, and it can take time to be able to develop new habits. But the hope is in knowing that there are new paths, there are new ways of relating in new directions to be able to move that energy in. And so getting into concluding the discussion here today, we can just kind of open things up. I'm not sure, Demetria, I know you just joined in. I'm not sure if anybody else just wanted to jump in real quick, and then we'll get closed into just closing gratitude shortly after, and any closing thoughts for anybody else. So for anybody else who did want to be able to share next, we can go around just one more time just with closing thoughts, and then we'll do gratitude shortly after the house notes. But yeah, just with my own kind of quick closing thoughts, again, how do we transform something negative into something positive? Well, let's look at how we relate to that. What do we define as negative? What do we define as positive? Can that shift? Where can we shift our paradigm relative to that? Once we start doing that, we can start to look at how we relate to the quote unquote negative, and to actually be able to see it as, again, sort of like the fire that can spark the growth, the challenge that can bring about the transformation. Like even when you look at something such as weight training, what's actually happening there? The muscles are actually ripping apart, but in the process of them ripping apart, which can be painful, it hurts. You think about that. We go to the gym, we literally hurt ourselves sometimes to be able to thus in turn create these rips within our muscle. And then what happens is that the body actually fills that with new cells, and those cells actually turn into the muscle. So it actually like creates the growth. So like the fractures and the splits and the cracks, again, that's where the light shines through. You've all heard that, but that's where the growth can actually move through. So I think one of the things that I'll just kind of put into here that's super powerful to me, and it's been a big part of my transformation, and I'll just say this and we'll pass it around to anybody else, is to actually incorporate quote unquote healthy stress into your life. There's de-stress, which is like distress, which is usually the type of quote unquote negative experiences that we don't want. It's like, oh crap, like my tire popped or something like that. Oh man, I have to deal with something I don't really want to deal with. But e-stress, which probably most of you, a lot of people have not heard of what e-stress is. E-stress is healthy stress, is a type of stress. Uni, I can see you raising your hand. We'll bring you up in a minute. Is the type of stress that you intentionally bring into your reality. So e-stress would be something such as working out. It would be something such as taking cold showers, something such as fasting, something that challenges your willpower, such as even, kind of like going to sleep earlier, like find the harder path and start making that. Find the harder choices and condition yourself to start making those harder choices intentionally in a safe environment, in a way that's not harmful to you. And you'll actually find that when those quote unquote negative situations arise, you'll be more capable of being able to navigate your way through them, because that's kind of how it works, where it's like you take a cold shower. What is that? That's entering into an uncomfortable situation. So what we identify as a quote unquote negative situation is usually just identifying it as something that is uncomfortable. And so, obviously we want to live in the comfort and everything, but we know that that's not where growth takes place. It can take place. The comfort is very important, and the stillness is very important. But, so when we relate to the negative in where we relate to the quote unquote uncomfortable in a different way, and we start intentionally putting ourselves into uncomfortable situations, then when the bigger discomforts arise, we can be like more confident in being able to reflect and be like, I know how to navigate through this. I can deal with this. I took a cold shower today. I can deal with someone's bullshit that they're trying to throw my way and transform it and keep my focus on where I'm moving forward. So that was one thing that I would just say, incorporate healthy stress. So, quick start for everybody here. Try taking cold showers. Doesn't mean you have to take your entire shower cold. Just kind of end it cold, see what that feels like. But again, and do that in a way where it's just like, whoa, I did it. I did it with intention. And then that in itself can like macro holographically affect the rest of your life when you start understanding that you have the willpower to be able to move through any situation that the universe puts in your way. You are incredibly brave. You're incredibly strong. You as a soul go through the experiences you're going through because you as a soul are strong enough are brave enough to be able to go through it. And especially when it comes to some of the harder stuff, the darker stuff, like that's like I'll just say this is really important. There's another layer to this, and I've kind of talked about this before, where, you know, as souls, and this is something even Kelsey kind of alluded to, where before we incarnate here, you know, it's almost as if we have like this checklist, this kind of like form that's given to us in some sort of higher dimensional office like place, and they're like, please like fill out this form before you incarnate on Earth and check off like 5 or 10 boxes of some of the trauma that you would like to heal, some of the darkness that you would like to alchemize, that you would like to be able to transform. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna check off this, you know, like trauma, all these like various forms of like, you know, heavy stuff. We all carry it. All of us light workers, we all carry heavy stuff in different ways. And then, you know, then you give that form back to the person, and they're like, whoa, like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want to do, like, there's some heavy stuff that you checked off here. And then you're just like, as a soul, again, this is a scene, but it's more of a metaphor, where you're just like, yes, I'm choosing to do this, not just for myself, but I'm choosing to do this for the collective. And as I transform for the collective, that's what we're doing here together. And then, you know, like the person who's holding this form, they say to you, they're like, thank you. Like, thank you for your service. Thank you for being brave. Thank you for choosing to incarnate as a soul and to go through the challenges that you go through, and to still come out of it as this like loving being that can move through the darkness. So that's where, you know, as a big part of the Paradigm Shift Central Project, you know, I talk a lot about this idea of us being light guardians, and light guardians to me is more or less like the gray Jedi, the one who carries the shadow and the light. So it's not this idea of just trying to be light, but it's understanding that, you know, the shadow and the light are the yin and the yang, and what surrounds the yin yang, the circle around the yin yang, that's love. So kind of like what was being said earlier, what if we actually understand that it is all quote unquote love? And I know that's kind of like relatively speaking, everything like that, but when we see it that way, you know, as individuals, we can find a little bit more purpose and direction to be able to understand that a part of our purpose as light workers and light guardians and starseeds and on whatever you call yourself is to be able to carry our light through the darkness, to be able to illuminate the unconscious, and to be able to help, again, kind of like bring more clarity so that things can be seen and things can be transformed. Because oftentimes what we identify as the negative and the uncomfortable is the unconscious. It is that which has not been acknowledged, that which has not been seen. And in order to, you guys know this, in order to heal it, you have to feel it. In order to transform it, you have to see it. So what if we see this as a process, and we're like, oh wow, where is this process leading me? How can I kind of like anticipate the future beyond this moment and understand that this in itself is a catalyst for my growth and the growth of the collective as well, and the darkness that we're transforming into individually as we this is so crazy, this is so heavy. Literally, like the craziest shit in the world right now, yeah, you can go out and try and transform it on an external level, but what we can all do is to literally help heal it within ourselves. And that in itself is enough. That if you can heal things within yourself, if you can be aware of what needs healing within yourself, if you can be aware that the craziest, darkest, negative shit that's out there in the world is actually in you in some degree, in some fractal, in some hologram of the fact that we're all holograms of each other. And if you can be aware of that and go through a process of being able to look deeper into it and to be able to start healing it within yourself, and then thus in turn kind of like breaking the cycles, so to speak, and not bringing it with us into the next generation, like that's powerful, man. That's so powerful. And I think that's a big reason why we're here. I'll just say this last part and then I'll pass it to Uni. We have the power. This is a crazy idea. Like, we have the power to literally be able to like heal generations of trauma within one lifetime. Like that is like a big reason why we are here on Earth right now. Like those of us who are kind of within this process of this awakening of consciousness, we have the ability to heal multiple generations of trauma and darkness and wounded aspects of our bloodline within one lifetime. How crazy is that? So Uni, at least that's how I see it. Again, think for yourself, obviously. Uni, if you would like to go next, I'll pass it over to you, and then again, we'll keep things going just a little bit longer. Obviously, this is a very in-depth conversation, and any closing thoughts after that, and we'll wrap it up. So Uni, if you would like to go next, please feel free to gently unmute your microphone. Welcome to the circle, and go right ahead. Welcome. Happy to have you, dude.
Aloha, my brother. Yes. Aloha, everyone.
Uni, can you turn your microphone up? Is that possible? Just before we dive into it? Seems a little quiet.
Is it a little? How about now? Is that a little better?
I'll boost it on my end, but yeah, if there's a way you can do it, but if not, it's okay. So
I'm on the phone. I
Okay.
have no
All
idea.
right. Yeah, you can just speak even just a little louder or hold a little closer. That would be appreciated. So, but it's not too bad. So, all right, go for it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Okay. Yeah. First of all, oh my goodness, bro, you just like mic dropped. You just full on mic dropped. That was you're a legend, dude. That's literally it. Like, uh, oh my goodness, man. There's so many aspects. Uh, there's so many aspects. I've caught a couple of the talks in here. I've been driving, but yeah. Ultimately, how I like to turn a negative into something positive is by recognizing first that there's a foundation of wellness in every single moment. There's a foundational support system I also have that I know I can never make a mistake, and we can never make a mistake. That once you start to release from that duality, that good or bad or positive or negative, just releasing from it, not that we need to completely avoid it, but just balancing yourself with the knowing that we are perfect in this moment and that we cannot make a mistake. And in those moments where I feel challenged with a situation, a person, a place, anything, I like to look at it as if it's a chess game with a smile on my face. My inner smile, my heart is like spreading its wings, and I look at this super not preferred situation and I say, well played, good move, good move. And that's it. That's it. Good move. Now I'm able to make my move. Like, can you imagine in every single situation, like your example with weightlifting, or you've got, you're doing a class, you're trying to get a good grade at this class, like every situation, if you just look at it like a chess game and you're like, well played, my move, like that's it. That's the shift of consciousness for me that really works, and I hope that inspires. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Uni. Happy to be able to have you here, sharing the wisdom, and yeah, it's kind of there's a saying where it's like you sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, so it's only this idea where it's like it's only a mistake if you don't learn, so to speak. So it's like, can we bring in that conscious awareness where we're always learning, we're always growing? I am a student of the universe. How humble I have become with the many experiences and negative things that I've gone through that have brought me to a place of like deeper gratitude and more humility. So yeah, again, the negative experiences can very much birth gratitude in many ways. So moving out of this conversation, I really just invite people to really just continue to cultivate gratitude within our heart, and that in itself is so transformational moving forward. Let's get close to just some closing thoughts. Kelsey, MJ, Carly, if you guys would like to be able to share something, please feel free to blink your microphone or unmute yourself, and we can just kind of pass it right over to you if you'd like to be able to share. And MJ, go ahead, we can pass it over to you. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make mine super quick here. Since it's my first time, but I just wanted to say that like the first time I felt a discomfort, it hurt really bad, and I had to check myself and my viewpoint. But then I felt it 100 more times. I suppose I forced myself to feel certain things or certain vibrations and negative frequencies over and over again. And I always tell my friends and the people on my in my soul family that the thousandth time that I feel this, it doesn't hurt at all. The 100th time, it still sort of hurts. But the more we like revisit that place and analyze our thought processes and our programming and what made us feel that way, it fades away. It hurts less and less every time, and that's our growth. People want growth to come like this, like snap my fingers and I have it, but it's more of a gradual process and it does take some time. For me, I just have to lose like my own judgments and find a way to love unconditionally instead, even if it's parts about myself that I didn't love. I have to find a way to love that too. And it cleanses it, it clears it. And then another thing that I wanted to mention is I used to feel so alone, but now I know that I have so many spirit guides and I just ask for signs and they come right in. It's like reading a book. And then finally, paying it forward is the absolute best way to clear negativity within. And that's what I've found. I do a lot of work for other people, like or no money or anything. And if I'm having a negative feeling, I will just pass the love around and share with everybody that I love. That's the best way for me. Thank you for letting me talk, guys. And thank you for all of the information. It was awesome.
Thank you. Thank you again, MJ. Happy to be able to have you here, and thank you for joining in for the circle for your first time. And MJ, when you get a chance, feel free to just send me a direct message on Instagram just so I can understand whose profile I'm connected with, and feel free if there's other events coming up that you want to be able to join in on. And yeah, happy to be able to have you here, and thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, you know, I like what you said there, because it reminded me of just one thing, and moving into closing notes. And Carly and Kelsey, just go ahead and blink your microphone if you guys just want to share one more time before we wrap it up, and I'll pass it to you in a few seconds. Where, you know, with every situation, this was something that I found through my own experiences, in particular, like heartbreak, things related to heartbreak. You know, it's like the heart doesn't just break, it breaks open, you know. So when we experience heartbreak relative to relationships or loss or anything like that, we're actually finding places within ourselves where we can send more love. And so I think when we move through life with this perspective of being able to understand that everything that we go through is actually an invitation to love more deeply, to love ourselves more deeply, to love others more deeply, whatever that looks like. You know, it's going to look in different ways in different circumstances. But yeah, as we get close to wrapping this up, I think again it's powerful to be able to understand that within the negative there is something positive. So are we transforming it? If anything, we're just kind of like nurturing the process instead of just like taking it and just throwing away the negative. If you do that, you might be throwing away a gem. If you push away the negative, then you might be pushing away the growth that comes with that. But if you understand that, you know, like within the cow shit exists the psychedelic mushroom that will allow you to speak to God or something. Like, I know it's kind of a botched metaphor, but you know, within the negative there is something positive. Within the darkness is where the seed grows. So yeah, just opening our mind and our heart to the possibilities. And I think even just the curiosity. So the next time something gets curious, again, you know, what if we prompt ourselves with, what is this teaching me? What is this giving me? Thank you for helping me. You know, even preemptively, I don't know what this is helping me with yet, but thank you for helping me. And then kind of navigating through the circumstance and just being open to that transformation. The universe wants you to grow. The universe, well, actually, I'll just say this. And again, Kelsey, Kelsey and Carly, if you guys want to go one more time, just go ahead and blink your microphone. I'm not sure if I missed it or not, but this is a very, very powerful thing. Okay, Carly, I'll pass it to you in a second. The universe, this is very interesting, relatively speaking. Somebody else said it to me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of deep. The universe isn't here to make you happy. The universe is here to evolve your consciousness. So keep that in mind, is that, you know, like sometimes like where like the growth of the consciousness isn't just going to come just through the joy all the time. Absolutely, you're here to experience joy and love and exaltation and bliss and everything like that, but it's not all there is. We need more to evolve our consciousness. We need the yin, we need the yang. And that in itself brings us into a deeper place of wholeness within ourselves. It makes us more empathetic because it gives us more empowerment. It gives us a more clear perspective. It allows us to step into our roles as leaders, and it helps teach people who are going through their own growth along the way, and gives them something to be able to see as an example, so that they can see that strength and that wisdom and that clarity within themselves as well. So there's so much strength in each and every single one of us. So for all of us going through our own negative experiences, I love you guys. I love you so much. You're so loved. Use the resources available to you. Reach out when you need to. And yeah, you got this. Carly, I'll pass it over to you. And anybody else with closing thoughts? This one went a little bit longer than normal with our circles, but that's okay. And Carly, when you're ready, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Brendan. I loved that metaphor personally, the cow shit and the psychedelic mushrooms. I thought it was great. Perfection. But you know, I really think that there is so much more to this conversation that we could have. And I know that I think honestly most of our conversations end up coming from this place of how we've turned something negative into something positive, you know, how we're using that in our daily lives, how we found gratitude through, you know, the difficulties, or how we have shifted our mindset, you know, how we've started our paradigm shift. And I find that really beautiful, in that we're always really talking about this question in some way or another. You know, this is where we come from as human beings. This is where we come from as, you know, light workers, like you said, whatever we call ourselves. But just the people on this planet who are here now, working on themselves, you know, wanting to help other people heal. And I really just think that it's just funny how that all comes back to this. So I don't have much else to say. Just gratitude for everyone here. I feel like everyone has shared so many amazing things I really needed to hear today. So this was a great one for me to listen to. It did get started a little late, so that's okay that it went a little late. But always great to be here with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you again, Carly. Happy to be able to have you here, and we'll just go around one more time. And again, anybody who just wants to share closing thoughts as well as gratitude, we'll just kind of put it into the same, and then I'll just do closing notes, and then we'll be done for today. So, anybody who would like to even just be able to share again closing thoughts, gratitude, or even just gratitude, Kelsey, we'll pass it over to you when you're ready. Go right ahead.
Hey, yeah. This was definitely in alignment for today. I'm feeling the love coming through. Everyone on here is just it's a perfect little group today, and I just want to say thank you. Also, I did want to bring up this case. I don't know if other people saw it, but it was years ago where this woman's son died by another. It might have been someone around his age. I think he was a teenager, and the other kid was a teenager, young adult, and he killed him, and the mom forgave him in the courtroom, and I really appreciated that that went viral because yeah, that's really hard to accept. However, um, it just is. It is what it is. As hard as that is to say, and I just think that being human is an opportunity that our soul has each time that we are in these little vessels. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you again, Kelsey. And yeah, I've heard that story. I've heard iterations of similar cases, and wow, so incredibly powerful, and absolutely, again, you know, like that's where, from one perspective, we look at things and we just be like, wow, this is an incredibly negative experience, and it is uncomfortable, it hurt, broke people's hearts, and then you look forward, flash forward, you know, several years, and you can say like, whoa, look at the healing that came out of this. Look at the testament to the strength of the human spirit put on example. My goodness, you know, the darkest, there's a quote, like I don't think I've say this, I don't think it's a quote, like I think I may be the person who quote it myself, but I basically say, within our darkest nights we shine our brightest lights. And I think that's true, is that, you know, like the harrowing, villainous, crappy, negative aspects of our reality also in themselves give the opportunity for us to really show how much we care, how much we, you know, sometimes it's one of those things where it's like we have to experience what we don't want in order to be able to get clear on what it is that we do want. And that can happen on a personal scale as well as a macro scale as well. So yeah, let's get close to just wrapping it up. Anybody else? MJ, Uni, did you guys want to share any just closing thoughts or gratitude? Please feel free to unmute your microphone. MJ, we'll pass over to you, and then Uni, if you want to share anything after that, go for it. Go ahead, MJ.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to say that it's that tiny glimmer of light that leads us out of the darkness and confusion. And so that little glimmer of light, once we, like you said, it changes within us and it grows and it grows. It was kind of along the lines of what you had said. So we just have to become, like, find the peace, forgive ourselves. Sorry, I don't know everybody's names, but like the last woman was saying too, just find that way to forgive ourselves within and love unconditionally instead. That's what I do anyways. And I share that with many, many people by paying that forward. I don't heal other people. I teach, I enlighten them with ways to heal themselves. And that's how we heal the collective. And it's just growing so much. Everybody's feeling so much better. And I'm very glad to be alive in 2021, incarnate as a human being on this planet. So we have to consider ourselves very, very lucky to be here and just find that gratitude and get out there in nature and see the beautiful world around us. That namaste, right? So thank you. That's all I had to say.
Thank you. Thank you again, MJ. And absolutely beautiful notes as we get ready to close it off. And Uni, did you want to jump in one more time just with any closing thoughts or gratitude? Please, by all means, go right ahead, dude.
Yes. Thank you so much. Final thought is, I think it's a Buddha quote. Don't quote me on this quote. But I like to say, like, we gotta want it like our hair is on fire. You know, sometimes the negativity or the issues, I like to call it just not preferred. It's just not preferred. So when your hair is on fire, when you want spirituality, when you want wellness, when you really wish to embody love, like your hair is on fire, man, it gets really easy. So easy. It's so easy because life and love is meant to be easy. It's meant to be received easy. We just got to get out of the way sometimes. And sometimes we need some assistance with some guidance from other beings like this ceremony here. This is amazing. I'm so stoked to be a part of this space. This is my first time connecting into this circle, and wow, this is so beautiful. What an amazing way to share our selfless service to this planet by coming within, and being the change. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you again, Uni, and thank you again, everyone. We'll wrap it up here. And closing thoughts, again, how do we transform something negative into something positive? I think it's within our nature. And I think, again, kind of what MJ was saying is that within each and every single one of us as humans, we came here to be healers. We came here to be alchemists. We came here to be wisdom holders and wisdom sharers. So understand that, chaos births symmetry, and we in ourselves, we can help bring this world back into harmony. When you see chaos, you yourself have the ability to be able to alchemize. You have the ability to be able to anchor in the vibrations and the frequency of harmony through compassion and kindness and understanding and all of these hippie virtues of the past, but to carry them in a very clear and precise way, like a warrior, like a guardian, where you carry these virtues as something powerful within your heart that will not be swayed. And this is because that within, when the strength of your power is in knowing the strength of your power. So how do you carry that? How do you carry that sword of, again, kindness and virtue and compassion and courage? And when you do that, you can cut through the darkness. You can cut through the bullshit. You can cut through the illusions between yourself and the growth that is always around us, that is always there for us to be able to receive. So again, how do we transform negative into positive? I think at times it can be sort of like dissolving illusions between ourselves and the story of how we relate to it, and allowing ourselves to reflect and being able to know that, again, out of the darkness grows the seed, out of the chaos comes the harmony, and to know that is like the patterns of nature, and we ourselves are the stewards of that pattern, and we can carry it with us wherever we go. So as we move into the conclusion of this, again, with any of these circles, this is here as a call to action. We do these circles not just to be able to talk about them, but we do them to be able to cultivate this wisdom, to practice sharing as sacred mirrors, and to be able to embody it in a way where each and every single one of us, I encourage you who are listening, all of us in the future as well, to carry what you've received out of this conversation and carry it as inspiration to be able to continue to take action in your life, to take action through your own personal transformation, as well as in the way that you relate to others, and the ways that you can go out there and to spread kindness and to be able to bring more of that magic and love and possibility into this world. So whether you're doing it through free hugs and shiftivism and sign holding and art and creation and Reiki and healing and discussion and listening and talking and being present, it's all equally important. So that's how we do it, and we're on a big journey here where, again, the world is kind of, there's a lot of negativity, quote unquote, in the world right now, which means there's a lot of opportunity for us to be able to really make a difference. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to collectively make a difference, and each and every single one of us carries that potential within inside of us. So yeah, I think that about sums it up. So, shifters and light guardians unite! Yeah! As I'm like waving my arms in the air. I assume you guys are too. So, anyways, we'll wrap it up here. I'm just going to do a quick screenshot and then we'll close it off with just some house notes. And for anybody who wants to jump out of the screenshot, feel free to just step out of the stage just real quick. This screenshot's just for our Discord server to be able to tag people on Instagram. I'm going to take this in 5 seconds, real quick. 5, 4. Perfect. All right. And again, this is broadcasted and recorded on YouTube at YouTube Skull Babylon, Spotify, Paradigm Shift Radio. Make sure you guys subscribe there. If you enjoyed this one, maybe it's your first one and you haven't listened to some of the past, go back, check out some of the past circles that we got and other Paradigm Shift Radio broadcasts. The Conscious Media Creator Dojo, you can check out the weeks that we got there up online. And again, if you enjoyed this broadcast and you want to be able to connect further with the community, obviously, if you're already in the Discord, stay tuned for more events that we have. We're doing the circles every Friday right now. But there are other events happening throughout the week, but that myself and other leading members are hosting. You can join and support on the Patreon. That's a monthly membership. It's only $11. That helps support the creation of this space, the work that goes into facilitating it that I do. Plus, it also gives you access to some other perks and events within the community. So lots of really cool stuff there. And yeah, stay tuned. We got lots more exciting things still to come. And the topic for next week will be released later in the week. And I think that's about all for today. So thank you everyone for staying a little bit extra and for being a part of today's incredibly inspirational Paradigm Shift Circle, inviting everybody here to gently unmute their microphones, and let's all say goodbye and thank you to everybody who's tuned in for today. So thank you everyone. Feel free to unmute your microphones. We love you guys. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome weekend. Have an awesome week. We love you guys. Bye guys.
Bye, friends. Love you guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Go
This is
heal the
wonderful.
world. Thanks again, everyone. Much love. Keep it shifty and welcome to the future.